Hello and welcome back to Happy Time, Happy Money podcast with Viktoriia and Miracle. And today we have Tricia Kopec. Tricia is a millennial on a mission. Full-time, you'll all find her working in tech sales at Pinterest. In her spare time, she is motivating on the bike at Canadian Spin Studio, Spinka, and online encouraging other young women to take control and build a life they love with financial abundance, a success mindset, and resilience attitude. Hi, and welcome, Trish.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I would love to know more about you, what you do, and how you started on what you started.
Yeah, of course. So I probably have a similar story to a lot of people, but my parents came from Poland when they were young. They met here and got married and since divorced. But when I was growing up, I think they taught me a lot when it comes to resilience and having a strong mindset. But I'd say because of their divorce, there was a lot of always money issues and kind of money struggles and stresses in my family. So I'd say in terms of like a money journey, that's kind of where I came from. But yeah, so I grew up in a smaller town outside of Toronto. I grew up pretty normal lifestyle. But essentially, once I got into university, I was kind of at a point in my life where I knew I had all this motivation, all this passion. I'd been working since I was probably 14, 13 years old, working multiple jobs just because my mom was a single mom trying to support two daughters. So I always kind of had this financial stress in the back of my head of there's never enough. You have to work really hard. You have to work multiple jobs in order to make ends meet. But I kind of came to a point in first year university where I knew that there was more and I didn't want to be stressed out all the time. And I kind of stumbled upon personal development at that point. And I started reading a lot of books, exploring my own limiting beliefs. And I kind of went on this journey where Tony Robbins was a big influence. I went to a few of his conferences. I started really diving in and finding different ways that I could educate myself and learn more about myself. And so I finished university in business and in marketing, and I got an internship at a marketing agency, which I was at for 5 years, kind of keeping that hustle mindset. I was always working multiple jobs. I had this goal of wanting to pay off my student loan within 3 years with no excuses. So that kind of motivated me to, again, keep working multiple jobs, but just so I didn't have to have that debt hanging over my head. And so over the last few years, I've definitely started to take all of my learnings and amplify them. So recently I moved to Toronto actually a year ago because that's something I always wanted to do, kind of weird in a pandemic because we've been shut down as a city for the last year, but I didn't let that stop me. And then I got a new job at Pinterest, which was always a dream job of mine in sales. And then outside of that, I've always just loved educating and talking to women who are motivated and passionate, because I know where I came from, I used to be very lost and very worried all the time, to having this totally different mindset and approach to my life and being able to knock off a lot of these goals that might not seem monumental, but that have made a big impact on my life. So just being able to let other people know that you don't need to be this grand, famous person to be able to accomplish the things you want out of life. It's just a matter of tweaking a few things in your life and starting to change the way that you think.
Okay, well, awesome. And so right now you're doing sales in Pinterest and starting building your more of an educational coaching business. Is that right?
Yes, correct. So I also a spin instructor. So I've always loved fitness and wellness, and I find that I love motivating people. So I did that to start motivating people on the bike. So I've kind of wanted to start to take everything I've learned and apply it in a way, not just from a money mindset perspective, but I'd say from a productivity and career perspective as well. Because I just find when you're able to find a way to manage your whole life, it really can make a difference in all facets. And a lot of these practices can be transferable to different areas of your life as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, mindset is everything. And, people say mindset is everything, but it is everything. You can push through and make it happen, or you not able to get up off the bed and, just rescheduling your alarm. So it does work in all favors. So what is these three things that someone who doesn't know where to start can do?
Yeah, great question. I know sometimes it can feel overwhelming, which can kind of cause inaction. So I think just being mindful of the fact that overthinking, catching yourself and taking a step back to just take the next simple little step you can think of. So I think that's one easy thing. When you're looking at the big picture, it can get very overwhelming, but just figuring out, okay, if I was to get from X to Z, or Y to Z, what's the first thing I would have to do? So I'd say tip number one is break things into chunks and then break them into little mini goals. The other piece too, I would say, is just start educating yourself. Mindset is such a big thing. It's kind of scary, especially if you never looked into it, but there's so many books and resources, podcasts like this one online, where if you just start slow, that's the best way to do it. So I can give you a number of book titles that I started with just from like a very basic personal finance perspective, because I do find knowledge is power.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Knowledge is power. And I think that's where I started. I didn't know where to start, but I just started listening to different experts and reading different books. And I started to implement some of these practices.
So what are the books that you say you want to recommend?
Yeah, for sure. So it's interesting from a Canadian perspective, because a lot of the books I've read are American, which is a lot different sometimes in terms of like the tactics you can use. But from a mindset perspective, I'd say I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi is a fantastic book. He's kind of like a no BS kind of guy, has a podcast too, but he really breaks down money principles at the gate. If you're Canadian, Happy Go Money is a really good book. So I actually have that one right beside me. Tony Robbins also has a couple of books on money and money mindset that I recommend. So yeah, I'd say those are a few, and I'll definitely link out, or I'll give you a few more to give to your readers.
Absolutely. And the third thing is?
The third thing I would say is be patient with yourself. Things take time. So if you've thought one way for 20, 30, 40 years of your life, it's not going to change in 3 months. It's not going to change in 6 months. It's going to take time. So finding different ways to be patient with yourself. And I'd say I'm kind of going to throw in a fourth one, but tracking is massive. And that's how I really got started, where I have a spreadsheet. If you follow me on Instagram and message me, that I've been using since I started my money journey to really understand what's incoming, what's outgoing, where I'm progressing every single week on my money savings goals. And that really helped motivate me, but also get really real with my finances to understand where am I at and am I making progress as to where I want to go.
Absolutely. And the last question that I ask everyone on this podcast is to filling the blank sentence for me, and it sounds like it. If you really knew me, you will know that I am blank.
I am a routine freak. I love my routine. I love doing things very, very structured, but I also feel like structure sometimes can actually create more freedom at the end of the day. So I find my boyfriend always makes fun of me that I'm way too structured, but it works.
Oh, well, I am also routine. You know, I just went for a vacation for 3 weeks to Russia, and then at the second week already, I'm like, I wanted to go back. I want to get to my farmer's market on Sunday. I want to do my yoga on Monday morning. I want to do this and it's just so freeing, because every other time, and I highly recommend to everybody, get the routine that it doesn't have to be exactly the same every day, but it has to like include in the week something that is your body and your soul needs. Like for me, it's yoga or going to farmer's market. And other time that you take that pressure off and you feed your creativity, it's like Tricia said, it's freedom, because then you have that free mind. You don't think and choose every day what you're going to do, and it's just so much more easier to get things done.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard somebody say, like, people think, oh, well, if you're so structured, you don't allow any spontaneity into your life, but it's actually the opposite, because when you're structured and you put in the things that are important to you and you wake up to your point, it's automatic, you get it done, you do the things that are best for you, you can actually have more time for spontaneity, because you're not wasting time deciding what's the next thing I'm going to do, what's my plan for later today, or what's my, what am I going to do in a week or 2 weeks from now. So yeah, it's definitely really important.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, you can find Trish on Instagram. She have an awesome budgeting spreadsheet, as I remember, for you there. And if you go down, scroll, whatever you're watching this or listening, just scroll down to description. There is a link to get you to a web page of this episode with the video and audio and everything you can share with your friends as well. There's all links that we mention in this episode. And thank you so much for listening. And I have wished you to have an amazing day. I see you tomorrow. Bye, Trish, and bye, everybody.
Thanks so much.